BizQuik podcast hits on the struggles and advantages of being an entrepreneur. It's for anyone who's made the commitment to burn the boats and not look back. Are you a busy entrepreneur or small business owner trying to do it all? Then this podcast is for you. Corey and Julie will take you through the details of building a strong business. Hit the subscribe button and gear up for another episode of BizQuik Podcast.
Hello and welcome to BizQuik. I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey.
And today we have part 3 of Talkin' Tacos. Pretty excited about this one because part 1 and part 2 have been ridiculously popular podcasts, Corey. Did you know that?
I did. I track all the numbers, Julie.
Yes, I know you do. So kind of a rhetorical question, but also I like for you to be able to let the audience know the role you play at SB Pace and BizQuik Podcast. So you're not just a pretty voice behind a mic.
No, I'm everything.
Yes, you do it all.
When it comes to this podcast, yes.
Well, hey, I feel like I'm a pretty strong contributor here.
Okay, everything outside of the actual podcast.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but we're just going to move on.
Everything podcast related that's not recording the podcast.
Okay. Okay. So today on Talkin' Tacos Part 3, we are going to talk about employee development and team building. So two really important areas that I think probably, how do you think most restaurants typically handle team building and employee development? What's their typical, what would be a common strategy in a restaurant for these areas?
I mean, if you're talking about mom and pops, which is what we are, even though we are a franchise, but we aren't, the Outbacks of the world. There isn't much when it comes to employee development or team building. There may be some training programs when it comes to the actual jobs within the restaurant, and there might be some team building activities that they do. There's always it's common to have outings, I guess, just to get people into a different environment but together, so they're not working, they can do things outside of the restaurant. But the really tough thing with that generally is restaurants are open 7 days a week, usually for lunch and dinner, so being able to get everybody together means you have to close the restaurant, which nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to do,
because that means you're not making money.
Yep.
Yeah, so you kind of have to have multiple team building activities.
I've seen it done in a couple ways like that, where you split it up and you split the group in half. But then again, that kind of sucks, and I don't know. But there's ways around it. I mean, one of the ways that we got to do with the night crew when I was working at Cabo, actually, we got to do a little bonding. We convinced Gary to come in and actually bartend and manage one slow night, and we had one of the new door guys who nobody really knew working with him, so that everybody who was generally stuck working at night, we never had a chance to go out together, just the group of us. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. So Gary came in and worked one night so that we could all go out, and then we made his night a living hell when we came back to the restaurant all hammered.
I am sure that Gary appreciated that very much.
Yes.
Well, listen, good team building. I've never, ever been on a team and regretted team building activities, because they're extremely important for having a well-constructed team. So, high functioning, high performing, you want to do those team building activities.
Yes, and if there's any weird noises in the background right now, there's a thunderstorm going through, and we are not in a soundproof booth. So
we are not in a soundproof booth, and there's a big thunderstorm rolling through. It's not anyone's stomach growling. It is actually a storm. So, all right. So, when you think about, so you're going to be doing things a little bit different than most restaurants do, and we're going to get into that deeper when Matt joins us on the back half of this podcast to talk about the strategy that Cabo is going to use. And we spent, you and I and Matt spent a couple of hours going over team building and employee development ideas and strategies that we could do as part of SB Pace helping Cabo launch this restaurant. And we have a list, an extensive list of things that can happen for both the team building and the employee development. Given the current, the situation where it's really hard to find employees right now, it's hard to find help, right? And I know when you first open, you probably won't have that issue because you're going to be the hot new thing in town. And so you're going to get a lot of, you'll get a lot of people wanting to apply and work there. And you're doing a lot of culture-based things. So you're going to build this really amazing culture inside of Cabo that is going to leave people wanting to stay there. But how important is the team building and the employee development to your long-term strategy at Cabo for having a good rotation of employees?
It's critical. So for us, we don't want just one. We want to build a small restaurant empire, and the only way you can do that is with people. And so for us, that's one thing that I think is going to be a differentiator, is that we are starting off with growth in mind, and that's the direction that we're going to go. So people who have been brave enough to stick around in the restaurant industry and want to continue to make it their career, there'll be opportunities for that. But we've also without getting into the details too much, because we can save that for when Matt comes on, but we've talked about doing other things to help people grow and develop their own professional life, so for instance, a lot of people who are in restaurants are doing it temporarily. That isn't their career. They're doing it because they're in between jobs, or they're looking, they're young and they're looking to start a career. And so one of the things that we are going to offer is a resume building course, so people can come in and they can build their resume and learn things like that, so that people because we know that not everybody's going to stick with us forever, and so we want to be able to give them as many tools and skills that we can, so that they can go get a better job somewhere else. Not that Cabo's not a great job, but
right. But to be able to advance or go into other industries, right? So I think that's really important, and that says a lot about the caliber of ownership. So you and Matt, but it also says a lot about how you're gonna the types of talent that you're gonna attract when people start to learn that you do that those are things that you offer. So we'll go through some of the specific ideas that we've come up with when Matt joins us. I want to ask you, do you think that some of these strategies that we are going to build out here, or that we have been building out and you're going to use for Cabo Richmond, do you think that they could benefit the larger franchise in total, and maybe backfill into some of the stuff that the rest of the restaurants are doing?
The rest of the Cabo restaurants?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure. So, we're definitely going to be working with corporate, with the original Cabos and Charlotte and Blacksburg. And anything that we do to improve the way the company runs, they'll potentially adopt, and vice versa. So there's that trade-off there. And the nice thing that I like about this setup is that there are many things that we have to do because it's an existing brand, but there's a lot of stuff that's just up for debate, let's say, because we want to grow, and in order to do that, you have to change. So
yeah, I like that. I think it's a perfect blend. Although I'm not gonna lie, I cringe a little bit every time you say corporate. I'm like, ooh, yeah, well, it's dirty.
It is.
But that's okay, because we understand that this is a part of the future. So all right, I say that we take a quick break, and let's come back and talk with Matt about team building and employee development.
Sounds good.
Hey everyone. If you're like most entrepreneurs out there, time is not something you ever seem to have enough of. We get it. There are a million things that need your attention, both in business and in your personal life. That's why we created Time Bomb. This is a self-paced course designed to help you determine what your time is worth and where you should be spending those precious hours every day. Right now, we have an option to buy the bundle, which also includes products designed to help you become more efficient with your time. It's a $70 deal you're getting for only an additional $30. Head on over to sbpace.com to learn more. Time Bomb. Take control of your calendar, gain control of your life.
All right, welcome back to the show. We've got Matt Karfakis with us now. Hey, Matt, thanks for coming back for part 3 of Talkin' Tacos.
Hey, guys, how are you?
We are amazing today. We have been talking about team building and employee development and some of the strategies that we have been, talking about and building out since we've been working together. And that's kind of, I think, where we're going to continue down that path for today.
Sounds great.
All right. So, Matt, I'd already asked Corey this before you joined, but I am curious for your take on what would be a very typical team building or employee development strategy in most restaurants that you are familiar with.
I honestly don't know. I don't think there's really a set, in my experience, there really hasn't been a set activities or any team building like that. It sort of just happens. A lot of what I've experienced is going out after work. I mean, that was basically the life cycle of me as a chef. I'd go work, I'd go out with everybody I worked with after we were done. And that's where a lot of the team building took place. And I don't feel like that's something that we're going to be going for, that type of team building.
Yeah, that happens naturally. Just people, they get off of work and they're like, hey, I'm going to the bar. You want to come? But yeah, probably the most organized thing I've ever seen is the people who get to the kickball leagues going. They're like, oh, we're gonna pull together the back of the house and we're gonna have a kickball team.
Sure, but those are very few and far between.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is something I feel like that we should be doing.
Yeah, definitely. So,
but again, and what I was saying, in those instances, that would always kind of naturally occur where somebody in the back was like, hey, we should start a kickball team, and there you go. That's not like the restaurant was trying to help develop or build the team that way. It's just something that kind of naturally occurs.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also not a lot of time in the day when you have a restaurant open to actively do team building, because you typically don't close your restaurant for things that in the corporate world you would almost take off a day of work to do.
Yeah,
I would love to explore ways around that for the restaurant business.
Yeah, it's tough because I mean we're gonna be hard pressed to say that we want to close the restaurant for any period of time when we can be making money. Now, there's certain days of the year, certain holidays. Like my favorite argument with every person who I've ever worked for is 4th of July. And people are like, oh, get ready. 4th of July is coming. People have the day off. And I'm like, yeah, what are you going to be doing, boss? Oh, I'm going to the lake. Cool. That's where everybody else is going. They're not coming here.
So close the restaurant.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So let's talk through some of the ideas that we came up with, or some of the strategies that you guys are thinking that you're most likely to employ as part of your, team building and or employee development, because some of the ideas that we came up with could work for both, right? So let's just kind of roll through some of the, your top 2 or 3 that each of you really like, and kind of toss them out there and talk about them and let the audience know, let our listeners know what you guys are thinking. So Corey, you want to go first?
Yeah, I like anytime that we can get people to team up inside the restaurant. So we were talking about there's always a divide between front of the house and back of the house. And so getting some sort of competition going, and we haven't figured out any details, but where somebody in the front gets teamed up with somebody in the back, and there's some sort of competition that it helps promote that divide or reduce the divide between the two sides of the business. And you could even do the same thing with day side and night side, because you get a lot of differences. A lot of employees who work only days and only nights. So
sure. Before I toss it over to Matt and ask ask him for some input. I think it's important because I don't think that everybody who listens to us is familiar with the inner workings of a restaurant, right? So, Corey, when you say front of the house and the back of the house, can you just clarify really quick what that means?
So you have the kitchen, basically.
Is the back of the house.
Is the back of the house. And then the wait staff, the bartenders, everybody else is the front of the house.
Got it. Okay. And are they usually pretty equal in numbers?
No, there's generally way more front of the house employees because you've just got like an army of servers and hosts and all of that, whereas the kitchen generally has more. I'm not going to say full time, but full time, and they one person can make a table of 4 fairly easy by themselves, whereas like. You've now got one person up front who has to deal with 4 tables, so you have to have more people up front. So.
Okay.
But
overall,
the answer is that's the answer.
Thank you. All right. Okay, Matt. So, what's one of the ideas or strategies that we came up with that you are really excited about?
The wine education and tequila education class.
Oh, those do sound fun. So those kind of fall into both team building and employee development, right? Yeah. So they're fun, but they also help educate the employees and give them an opportunity possibly for advancement inside of the company, or?
I mean, not really. It's just, it'll help them, especially the servers, just knowing more, being more knowledgeable about the different, everything that we offer. I for the back of the house, it seems more like it's more of a perk than anything, really.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Matt. Why is that one of the ones that you really like?
I mean, not only are we furthering someone else's knowledge, regardless of what their end goal is, but I mean, it's also a fun thing. One of my favorite classes in culinary school is wine class.
Oh, okay, cool. I also think it really ends up paying you a dividend in terms of your customers getting better service, right? Because the servers are going to be more educated. They're going to be able to do, make better recommendations and tell them exactly, specific things about tequila and whatnot. So it's a good benefit for the customers to have a server who really understands the wine and the tequila selection inside the restaurant.
Yep.
Love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay. So everybody wins on that one. Corey, give me another one.
Sticking with the teaming things up, the partnerships with other businesses. So there's different ways that we could partner with other businesses to offer like trade services, so to speak. It's kind of hard to do if a place offers a service and we're trying to trade with a restaurant because there's pretty much the only thing we can offer is free food, and that's not that exciting. But we've come up with a couple of different ideas that we'd have to work through, but where we can offer something and get something in return, so our employees can go there and get something, and their staff can come to our place and get something in return. So that's a good way to build the team and maybe get them interested or involved in something that they might not have had any interest in doing before.
Can you give an example of something you're thinking of, or would you prefer to play that a little bit close?
Well, it's not that I want to play it close. It's just that I haven't really talked about it to anybody. But if you have let's say a gym, a yoga studio, something like that, where we could get a free class or something like that, so they're getting the health benefit of whatever it is, and then we could teach them, we could invite them and do the wine and tequila tastings and things like that. So different things like that. But again, you have to find that partner, and you have to find that person who's willing to give up something, because and they have to see eye to eye with you, because they're giving up time, they're giving up money, they're for this. So yeah, I
like that. That's a nice perk for the employees. Matt, what do you think about that one?
I think Corey just hit it right on the head there. I completely agree with absolutely everything he just said.
Yeah, you know why else I really like that one? Because chances are good that you're going to be partnering up with another small business. And so you are promoting that small business and helping them to get more business, because the reality is that there's a strong likelihood, if let's say that you do go with like partner with a yoga studio or something, some of your employees may end up getting memberships there after going and taking advantage of the discount or whatever, and so that yoga studio is benefiting even more. So you're promoting small businesses in a different way.
Exactly. And the thing that I like about that, because we were talking on the front end of the different things that we could do for employee development, and we didn't get too much into it, but we were talking about helping people write resumes or whatever. And for anybody who's ever managed or owned a restaurant who might be listening to this, they're probably thinking to themselves, these guys are idiots. They clearly don't know what they're doing because they're not going to have time to do shit. And we're not going to have time to do shit. And a lot of this stuff that we're doing, we either need to set up now or find ways to do it so it's not something that's taxing on our time, because we're going to be, just as busy as everybody else in the restaurant. And what we need to do is figure out a way that it's not going to be, we're definitely not going to have everything set up when we first open. Like, it's going to be stuff that gets added as we go. So,
Sure.
So yes.
But partnerships are a really good way to get that done too, right?
Well, but yeah, from that team building aspect, yes, because it's a conversation with another small business owner, it'd take an hour,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Matt, give us another one that you are really excited about.
Well, team building, I think family meals are a big thing. Eating with somebody always starts a relationship. Always builds it and furthers it for the most part. And having family meal in a lot of the restaurants I used to work in like New York City, fine dining, everyone sits down and has a meal, front of the house, back of the house, typically before service. And I would like to offer that when we open as well. And I think Corey and I have talked about this in length, that it would be something great to start, especially right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we've debated over about it a little bit, because there's people who are going to feel slighted, they're going to feel left out, and we have to figure out a way to make it basically open to everybody, because you can't really sit down and have a meal before service in the middle of the day, because we're still going to be open serving customers. So it's not like we can shut down for an hour, let everybody eat, and then I've never understood those restaurants that close for like an hour and a half and then reopen. Like, you're already here, just keep the doors open.
Right. Yeah.
But we talked about doing like employee brunches on the weekends, or having those meals at the end of the night, that type of stuff, where it's not going to interrupt our business operations, but we're still, and again, it's one of those things. It's like, we're a restaurant. Why shouldn't we be? Do you think a dentist charges their hygienists whenever they need dental work?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, maybe something.
Yeah. And there's going to be those things that are built in for, like employee shift meals. They'll get, 50% off or whatever it is. I can't even remember what it is, but there's those discounts that are already built into being an employee, but that's on their own time type of thing. Like, I'm going to bring my family in for dinner, get a discount. This is more designed for the people who are working that shift, or if, whatever. Again, okay. We still have to work out the details, but it's something that we want to do.
Are the family meals fairly common in restaurants, or is this something that's unique to?
I saw it more in New York, and then just in general, fine dining restaurants. Some of them aren't open during the afternoon, and how they typically fix that is just an overlapping in the shifts to give somebody 30 minutes to eat with other people they're working with. But typically, most of them aren't even open for lunch or are closed in between lunch and dinner.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to give one of the ones that I'm excited about, and mostly because it, involves SB Pace, but we have decided that we, will give our, so SB Pace has some courses, right? We have 5 courses, 3 of them are paid courses and 2 of them are free. But we've decided that the Cabo employees can have access to our courses to help, get some continuing education. And in the event that, they're interested in, we've got some courses and they're not necessarily all about being an entrepreneur, like a time management course and whatnot. So it's kind of nice to be able to participate a little bit in that and help, grow and develop the employees and give them a perk that most other people wouldn't have access to.
Agree.
Okay. Well, that was like, I appreciate the agreement there, Corey.
No problem. I'm carrying this team today, Julie.
You really are. You're really carrying it. So really the team building and that employee development, that plays very well into the culture that you guys are trying to build, right? Where it's very important to you to have this family-like environment and where people want to come in to work. And I think maybe from listening to you guys talk about restaurants in general, it's a common atmosphere where people really enjoy being there, but maybe it's not a place they typically would stay for an extended period of time for employment. But you're hoping through these, very deliberate, pieces of the culture that you'll get employees, your employee retention will be longer.
Yeah, it'll be longer, and I mean, turnover it's such a big part of the restaurant industry. Even restaurants who are good at it, because people, I mean, they job hop, or like I've talked about many times. It's temporary. They're filling a gap. They need some supplemental income or whatever it is. They lose their current job and they just need something to do until they can find their next job. And so that's just a part of what we do, but. One of the things that we were actually talking today with Campfire and Company about.
You're gonna have to tell people what Campfire is.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Right. But we were talking to them about design, because that's what we hired them to do, and they do design work, and they're great at it. But anyway, one of the owners is she and I used to work together in Blacksburg, at the Blacksburg Cabo, and she was even talking today how there was just something about the atmosphere there that was much more appealing than any other place that she'd ever worked before. So there was just like an atmosphere of that, like, I can't remember what she said exactly, but it was more inviting to employees. Like you enjoyed going to work because you knew it wasn't just going to be like a crappy waiting job.
She basically said that she had worked in other restaurants before Cabo, and it was pretty much everybody out for themselves in the front of the house. And then she came to Cabo and Blacksburg and worked for Corey, and she said it was like everybody was on a team. So there was team building there at some point. However, it happened naturally or planned, but that was very pleasant to hear her say that.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice to hear, and that's one of those things that. Like I feel like, as a part of the brand or whatever it is, but there's a lot of those people who I worked with, and they like especially in a college town. I mean, the average lifespan of a server is 1.5 years, basically, because you can't hire them before they're 21. I mean, you can, but we never really hired them before they were 21, and then they were going to graduate within the next year. But it was always nice to see them. I mean, they would always come back and always want to say hello and see who's still working there and all of that. So that was always nice to see. And I think that is a good indication that your culture, your environment's not awful.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that. That's a nice testimonial to the culture of the business, right? So, the key, I think, getting the right people in the door initially and hired, right? Which, you've got the benefit of you're new and exciting in town, so people are going to want to come and work there. And you're probably, and I hope this isn't a overstatement, but you probably have some choices in terms of who you are hiring initially, right? You'll be able to, have at least enough applicants to be able to pick and choose for people that fit nicely into the culture. As you're building out the team, maybe it's possible you'll be able to promote from within for some of the higher level opportunities that exist as you're starting to grow the business. So you've got some loyalty built in there, which is always nice. And then you can continue to build and develop the team with these team building and the employee development activities. And to some degree, you'll also have a career path inside of Cabo too for employees.
Yeah, definitely. And to be clear, there were definitely some people who hated working at Cabo. So
that's the first time I've ever heard you say that.
it wasn't some kumbaya drum circle, everybody high-fiving each other left and right. But
this is new information to me, folks. Every time we talk about Cabo, it's like it's the best place on earth. It's like Disneyland of restaurants.
It's through my rose-colored eyes.
I know. I did want to point out earlier when you were, when Matt said that, crediting Corey with the team building, right? And people wanting to come in and work because it was just felt like they were on a team. And I thought, why can't he do that for SB Pace? There's no team here. No, just kidding.
Absolutely,
just
none.
kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Every time we do these, we ask 3 questions, so I'm gonna run through them. And Matt, I'm gonna start with you. So if we can think specifically about team building and employee development on this one, although you're free to think however you want. But first question is, what's the one thing you'll do better than anyone else in the area?
Arm our staff with knowledge of what they will be doing in the restaurant and what they will be selling.
Nice. Corey, what say you?
I mean, I want to say that we're going to do better at just personal development in general, like just acknowledging the fact that this is not their final job. This is
final destination.
Yeah, this is possibly not the career for the rest of their life.
Okay. I think it would be really cool if you ended up building an army of people who wanted to open up the next Cabo because they end up loving Cabo so much. Whatever Gary did to you, if you could, instill that in other people, that'd be amazing.
He left me alone most of the time. That worked out.
That
well.
does seem to be the right move with you. All right. Question number 2, Cora, I'm gonna throw it to you first. What makes you nervous about opening the restaurant?
Finding the right team. And I think it still comes down to that. We're about to start build out, and we're gonna be open, in a blink of an eye, and we're still kind of reeling from the effects of the labor issues, and especially in the restaurant industry.
Yeah. Okay. Matt, how about you?
Exact same thing. I'm extremely worried about the labor market and what we are coming into.
Okay. And final question, Matt, why will Cabo be a success?
Because of all these steps we've been taking. We just build upon it every single week, and it's building a solid foundation for what we're aiming for.
Nice. That is exactly what SB Pace aims to do, build solid foundations. Corey, why is Cabo going to be a success?
Well, I think along those same lines, just quick story again, when we were having that discussion with Campfire today, we were going through what our brand was going to be like, and they were asking us a bunch of questions because they're going to build out the interior in a way that not only matches the Cabo requirements, but it matches the personality of Matt and myself and Richmond and all of that. And Matt pointed out when we were going through the brand archetypes, which I'm not going to get into, you can look that up. He pointed out,
that was his preemptively striking me from asking the question.
Yes. But Matt pointed out on one of them, he was like, we should probably pick that one because those are our core values. And I was like, oh, look at that. The work that we're doing is already paying off, and that, and hopefully the design of the building is going to match the brand, the culture, all the work that we've been doing.
Excellent. All right. Well, I love hearing that. All right. We need to wrap up. So I'm just going to say it for Matt and for Corey that you can learn more about Cabo and catch up with what they're doing on social media. Instagram, I believe it's
Cabo.Richmond.
Cabo.Richmond. And Matt's been putting up some really good content up there. So follow them and make sure you engage with them on social. And thanks, Matt, for joining us again. As always, we really appreciate your insight and input.
Thank you.
Oh, that's my line.
Yeah, I started your lines,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
know.
because I thought it would be awkward for you to do that part.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm
Okay,
thoughtful.
anyway. Thanks to our listeners, and everything that you'll need to know about us is going to be in the show notes. And if anybody out there wants to work with us, reach out.
Yeah, and when he says work with us, he really means SB Pace, right? Correct. Yes, and you can reach out on our website. Go ahead and just hit the contact us and schedule a call or fill out the form. You can also connect with us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, though I think we're quitting Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and we are on TikTok.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Next line is yours.
Well, no, all the information that you...
Everything you want to know about us is on sbpace.com.
There we go. Don't forget to download and rate the podcast, like us, give us a review, and reach out to us about any topics that you might want us to cover.
Yeah. Also, we wrote a book. We talk about it all the time. It's called Seriously Now What? A Small Business Guide to Disaster Preparedness. And we decided earlier this week that Matt has to read the book and we're going to quiz him on it. So congratulations, Matt.
Great. Thanks, guys.
The book comes with a digital download workbook that gives you tons of exercises, and some fun dad jokes are built into it. It's a #1 bestseller on Amazon, and if you already have the book, head on over to Amazon and rate and review it because we love feedback.
That's it for today. I'm Corey.
I'm Julie.
And this was BizQuik, Talking Tacos.